other backward classes, and minorities what not. It is in this context, friends, we wanted to understand the contemporaneity of this whole process. It is in this context that we wanted our place of a movement. What is a movement? We wanted to decide. Is gathering of certain people is called movement without any ideology, without any organization? एक आदमी जाके big boss में बैठ गया, this is their ideology. Second person is saying give Kashmir, and the whole crowd which was there said in the strongest possible terms, reservation is corruption. They said it. Now, it is in this very, very volatile situation. We have to decide, friends, that our role, what is our role? Where we stand. And therefore, friends, it is a serious issue. Very serious issue. Dalits, are they participating in the nation process? Are they participating in the process of nation building? Have they ever participated? So many questions start emerging. There are abler minds and abler pen, they can definitely speak for hours. But let me tell you only 3 points. I want to share only 3 points. And after that, stop. The first, of course, we have kept nation. What is a nation? This will be a logical question. I want to just dwell upon 2 minutes. Dalit participation, as somebody was talking about, I will only say Dalit participation was it there? Is it there? And how are they going to participate in contemporary society? How they participate right now in the contemporary society? If we take definition of nation, I don't think I have to go anywhere. You can read Baba Saheb Ambedkar volume 8, and Baba Saheb Ambedkar decides and tells us. Even Rabindranath Tagore, his Tracy Chaplin, all these people were talking about, India is not a nation, it is nation in the making. India is not a nation, it is nation in the making. भारत राष्ट्र नहीं है, राष्ट्र बनने की प्रक्रिया में है. तो आप पूछें कि राष्ट्र क्या होता है? And Baba Saheb quoted Ernest Renan. Ernest Renan, a very renowned personality from US political arena, was talking about nation, and he quoted from that. He said, nation is a soul. Rashtra ek atma. Nation is a soul. It is a principle. It is a principle on which people come together and they unite. And how they unite? Unite on the basis of their achievements, their sorrows, their happiness. And it is just like a cultural capital. राष्ट्र एक सांस्कृतिक विरासत है जिसको लोग जीते हैं. And then Baba Saheb quoted, are we nation? The first example he gave, we are not a nation because we are divided into thousands of castes. And he asked that a nation, a people divided in thousands of castes cannot be nation. Because castes do not tell us how to share. There are stories. There are stories in which each caste is trying to dismantle the history and existential reality of the other caste. There is a caste, Parashurama and Brahman. Parashurama Brahmana was trying to disarray. And a Kshatriya, on the other hand, you know what he was trying to argue. And he was made a limbo. So there are stories after stories where castes are having deep animosity for each other. Then how can there be a nation? Now, this was the case among the so-called Hindus. I'm saying so-called Hindus because the Hindu term only emerges in 18th century, and we add 8th century AD Hindu term to 15th century Rig Veda, and we say this is Hindu social order. There is no Hindu word in anywhere of the sacred texts of so-called Hindu social order, but we attach. So we try to create an we artificially construct a word construction of majority and minority. Now, if within the minority, Baba Sahib quoted that if this is the Hindu world, where actually people are trying to have animosity, what about Hindus and Muslims? And Baba Sahib simply said that in Muslims, if the Hindus are quoting Quran and Gita and Ramayana, Muslims quote Quran. They say Prithviraj Chauhan, they say Mir Jafar, and there is always a hustle. So where is that sharedness, togetherness? Now it is in this context, friends, there was deep animosity. People said that no, language is the marker of nation. Baba Sahib refuted that idea. No, language is not the marker of nation. Otherwise, those who speak English in the world, they should have been one nation. Language is not the marker. Religion is not also the marker of nation. Baba Sahib argued that there are people who practice the same religion, but they are different nations. So nation is beyond language, and nation is beyond religion itself. And that beyondness is sharedness of the two people. People say that we speak the language. We are speaking English language, but they are not part of London or US or UK. There are so many other nations who speak English. So Baba Sahib said that we are not even a society. People celebrate festivals. People say that we celebrate festivals. Baba Sahib said that festival can be celebrated because of diffusion. People from sociology background, they must be understanding what diffusion is. Some all these मंडल साहब बता रहे थे 2000 वर्षों में कौन सी चीज बनाई, ये सब डिफ्यूजन से आया है. ये जो पंखा, लाइट और पैंट और शर्ट, ये सब डिफ्यूजन से आया, नहीं बनाया. But can we say that we are part of modern society which is American and national? No, it is not. We are not yet society, and therefore, friend, there is a deep entrenched animosity of the people which is not producing fraternity. Or of course, superiority, if I am calling it right. Superiority and fraternity. हम तो भाई समझते रहे, वो हमको चाहा. कैसे बनेगा भाईचारा? हाँ, तो हमको चाहा समझा. So this nation building process was abruptly stopped somewhere in the history of the making of the nation. Why it was stopped? Let me tell you another thing, that it was stopped because of the monopolization of institutions of governance as well as institutions of production, education, and so forth. Now, the process of nation building, as Baba Sahib had told, is the sharing. Now, sharing and forgetfulness also. And he gives the example of France, East France and West France. They had intense fight. But today you cannot say East and West France are not one nation. They are one nation. Because there have been certain forgetfulness. But हम जैसे भूलने की कोशिश करते हैं, वो बोधा कर देते हैं. हम जैसे भूलने की कोशिश करते हैं, वो जिसे कहना चाहिए फिर से मार देते हैं. और there are 3 Dalits which are murdered daily. There are 2 Dalit women raped daily. And then you say that there is fraternity. We are one nation. We are not a society, what we are talking about nation. And it is in this context Baba Sahib argued that if you really want to make nation, then you have to give self-representation to the people. Self-representation to scheduled caste, ex-untouchables, self-representation to backwards, self-representation to women. And these are, I'm speaking on the basis of his documents. You have to give them. If you exclude the identity and the entity both, then you will not be able to make nation. You have to give them their due share representation and self-representation on the basis of 4 elements. Why he needed self-representation? People say reservation. Reservation is not an economic upliftment program. It is not poverty alleviation program. It is an issue of representation. And representation in every institution, bureaucracy, judiciary, university, industry, media, all these institutions, modern institutions of the nation, we need equal representation of the people. 100% of course as university and 100% of information industry. And we say that we want to participate in Dicky 4%. Dicky is another statement which they have made on us. You remain in Dicky, don't come to Ficky. Remain in Dicky, 4% Dicky. Don't come to Ficky. We are trying to restrict you, sir. And Dalit millionaires. I am arguing that how a Dalit capitalism will be different from mainstream capitalism. Because capitalism thrives on three things: competition, monopoly, and of course, again competition. Fierce competition. If Dalit capitalists are created, then they will also have competition. Because without competition, they cannot survive. They will have to survive on competition, and then they will create monopoly. तुम हट जाओ, हम आएंगे. तुम हट जाओ, हम आएंगे. But friends, I'm intrigued to see the developmental growth rate which people are talking about. I'm intrigued at how they want to build this nation. This is very interesting, and this is 12th plan approach paper. It was supplied to me by Sri So and so. I should quote the source, sir. Sri Krishnani. So what is it? This shows the approach of nation building. Approach on which you want to build nation. And this approach, how much you remember the excluded communities, how much you remember excluded people when you are founding an approach to nation building, and that is planning. I will read this paragraph. A broader analysis of that document comes out from a simple summation of some key words and how many times these words were used. I'm going to take the words, how many they have been used in approach paper. What is this? It also gives an idea of the direction the planning commission is taking. The words are, and their usage are, dignity. Dignity, 0 times. Hunger, 0 times. Equality, 0 times. Human rights, 0 times. Dalits and scheduled castes, 2 times. Tribals, 8 times. Farmers, 38. PPP, public and private partnership, 44 times. Market, 67 times. And growth, 279 times. 279. Without dignity, without human rights, without equality, and without reference to hunger, you can have growth. You can have growth. Now, where are we? I'm only trying to argue as a humble teacher, as a humble civil servant, we are not able to do a launch a movement. We cannot launch, I agree. But can't we at least have that consciousness? Can't we create even consciousness? Whenever we organize a Dalit conference, 14th April, 6th December, बाबा साहब ने कहा आप लोग शिक्षित हो, संघर्ष करो, आप लोग शिक्षित नहीं हो रहे हो, संगठित नहीं हो रहे हो, संघर्ष नहीं कर रहे हो, और पढ़े लिखे में सबसे धोखा किया। जय भीम जय भारत। मैं मजाक के तौर पे नहीं कर रहा हूँ। I'm trying to have an evaluation, a serious evaluation. इतना पैसा खराब होता है, इतना टाइम खराब होता है, और उसके ऊपर आकर के खड़ा हो जाता है एक आदमी, मैंने ये किया, 70 वर्ष में 1970 में मैं ये था, मैंने ये किया था, मैंने 89 में ये किया था, 80 में ये किया था। अरे मैं किया था, मैं तो मना कर रहा हूँ, but let's be serious. Let's be serious, create an idea which in turn creates certain idea. कोई नहीं आता सेमिनार में, इतनी मुश्किल में बच्चों से कहा चलो भैया आज कुछ नया होने वाला, चलो ये लोग चले आए, इनको टर्म पेपर लिखना था, यहाँ पर नहीं आए, आप लोग भी आज आए होंगे, कुछ सोच कर चल रहे सुनिए तुम्हें घरों से कब फुर्सत, हम अपने गम से कब खाली, चलो बस हो चुका मिलना तो खाली। So let me tell you some little bit more serious thing and finish off. The second thing is that, friends, Dalits have been participating contributing through their labor, and one labor I want to especially talk about, and this is related to Dalit women specifically, because I have come to realize or know that 44% of birth in India is still take place in unorganized sector. 44% of births take place in unorganized sector. Who is this person who assists in unorganized persons? Unorganized spaces, this is the Dalit woman who plays the role of midwives. There's a very good book by Janet Chawla, Birth and the Birth Givers. Read it. 44%. अगर एक बर्थ पर 10,000 रुपया लग जाए, तो how much money Dalit woman contributes to Indian nation? There is no need to calculate. And this is the other side. When our people clean the toilets, when our people clean the aerodromes, then your flight takes off. If he is not there, Dalal Street starts when our person cleans that roads. Otherwise it will stink and they will not be able to do their economic activities. दाई जनाई, मल की सफाई, कबर की खुदाई, कलपुर्जे की बनवाई, 2000 सेंटीग्रेड में एक कलपुर्जा बनता. And most of the people belong to the scheduled caste community. अन्न की उपजाई, I'm not talking about landless laborers. They contribute into the food grain production, which is getting record after record. It is not because of the yield only, it is the manpower. Therefore, I think there is a need for our economists to corroborate the whole data. 1 rupee, 2 rupee, 10 rupee. I am ready to sacrifice a liberal estimate. But yes, let's have an estimate. Our economists should stop writing on the list. If they cannot give us some economy on the basis of that this is our labor and this much of our labor is concerned, one digging of the grave is basically this much cost. I am not absolutely trained in economics, but I can definitely think that this much of the labor is contributed. And let's have that argument taking forward into the others arena. So friends, our whole aim is to create certain ideas. Only ideas, so that those ideas can be taken, some ideas, because social change is not going to come from the universities. Social change ideas are not going to come universities, because universities teach only status quoism. Only status quoism. Because as you said that technology is like this, you cannot question. If you question, what? You cannot question. Then you will be called as radical. And how can you create an idea? You don't teach Phule, you don't teach Ambedkar, you don't teach Savitribai Phule, you don't teach actually Savji Maharaj, Periyar, Birsa Munda. Now if you cannot teach that, how are you going to create an alternative ideology? And unless and until you have an alternative ideology of the nation building, I don't think that you can make a nation. Nation on the Brahminical ideology has been built. We have seen on the Brahminical ideology, nation has been built in which people have been excluded. But now there has to be an alternative ideology on the basis of this nation can be built. And this ideology will be inclusive ideology. This ideology will be inclusive ideology. We have a simple symbol of Ambedkar, of Phule, of Savji Maharaj gives you cutting across the stages. Narayana Guru, so Savitri Birsa Munda, Savitribai Phule, Raidas, Kabir all give you a national symbol. Why can't we celebrate that? Why we have to criticize that? So the nation building will take place when we cut across the linguistic boundaries. We cut across the caste boundaries. But where is that program? Is there any program where we are cutting across? Yes, friends, there is a very silent program is going on. You never know who is coming from where.